Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Gator Insider, presented by Talon Wealth. I'm Sean Kelley, and alongside, as always, is our Gator Insider, Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Chris, the good news continues here for the Florida Gators. The winning streak has now reached 6. They've won 11 of their last 12, and a 2-game lead now in the Southeastern Conference with 5 games to play. Where should our insider conversation begin with the way these Gators have played over these most recent wins against Kentucky and South Carolina?
I think it has to start with defense, kind of like we've been inside talking for the last few weeks, right? Let's see, 62 points for South Carolina, 66 points at Georgia, 67 points A&M on the road, South Carolina 48 points at home. This team just continues to, I don't want to say overachieve on defense, but this is an elite defensive team. When you start looking at those Ken Palm numbers, the best teams in the country, the Arizonas, the Dukes, the Houstons, Michigan, they're all in the top 5, 6 in defensive efficiency. Florida right now, number 4 in that category. You play defense like that, you can win anywhere, anytime.
No doubt. I think as this season has progressed, we've rightfully so has said that the Gators have flaws. Have they been able to knock some of those flaws out of the way as this has continued to move in the right direction?
Yeah, well, the biggest flaws, of course, is going to be everyone's going to point to the three-point shooting. And again, we're going to talk about it again. I mean, Boogie Flan isn't shooting well. Alex Condon doesn't shoot well from three-point line. They don't take a lot of them, okay? Xavier Lee is kind of off and on and everything, but the three-point percentages aren't what they are. The defense stays the same, okay? And they're getting elite defensive production at the 5 and 1. It's kind of like in baseball, up the middle. At the 1 and the 5, Boogie Flan has been great on the ball. Ruben Chinelio has been off the chain, obviously, at the 5 position. Up the middle, those guys are really just playing phenomenally right now.
And if you look at most of the games in this 6-game stretch, the first 2 segments of the basketball game, and when I call a segment is like tip to the under-16 media timeout, and then from the under-16 to the under-12 timeout, teams are struggling to make a shot in those 2 stretches of the games to where we're seeing teams shooting less than 20% through the first half of the first half.
Yeah, and if you trace back to the last time Florida lost the Auburn game, that first session of which you referenced, that's where the Gators fell behind, and I think a lesson was learned from that in terms of, I'm not saying they came out flat and everything. They're just what Todd will say. He didn't like how they responded, but they're responding from the jump now in these basketball games. And as long as they continue to trend in that direction, and they are trending in a very good direction with this defense, they're going to be a tough out, man.
That's their collectiveness.
That's right.
Obviously.
That's right.
Individually, who stood out for you in the last week?
Alex Condon was phenomenal. Obviously, we can talk about Xavier Lee being SEC Player of the Week last week. A lot of that, I think, was what he did on the offensive end. I think he's been really consistent as a defensive player this year, also being, kind of a little, 180 pounds. Doesn't really get pushed around that often. But what Alex Condon does, and I tell you what, he had 6 turnovers in the South Carolina game. He doesn't let that bleed over to what happens on the defensive end. Again, and that's the calling card on this team. And as long as he keeps responding in that way and keeps, Billy Dom used to say it all the time, next play, next play, next play. Put the other thing behind you, rear view mirror. Alex Condon is that player. I think he's been fabulous. And we don't even need to say Ruben Chinelio is the great defensive player anymore. I think he is the SEC runaway defensive player of the year, and certainly will be in the conversation for national defensive player.
Are you backing that up with just simple numbers, or is there more to it?
How about the eye test? People will watch that clip of him against Alabama, against Philon, and against Latrell Wrightsell, and no one's going to forget about that. But it's what he's doing, getting those defensive rebounds. Florida's one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the country, one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. They are the best of both in the conference right now. He's been everything that they could possibly imagine for him.
You're as much an insider as you are a historian. Mm-hmm. If we take Ruben Chinelio's performances now this season and the consistency of them, where is Ruben right now in the annals of Gators basketball history?
Well, when you start getting these numbers, thank you, Denver Parlor, we're stacking up these numbers about double-doubles and 20 rebound games in the SEC. I think he's averaging 16.3 rebounds during this 5-game winning streak. just hasn't happened before. And you got to go back to the 70s when there was no three-point line, Chip Williams, and back even farther than that. So kudos to him. It's a historic season. I don't remember a player playing the kind of defense. The closest thing would be Patrick Young in 2014, which was the last time the Gators won an SEC championship, by the way.
Indeed. Nice transition as well. The Gators are in first place now in the Southeastern Conference with a 2-game lead. Big win for the Gators, seeing obviously Arkansas fall to Alabama in double overtime this week. I'll lean into your expertise as a master of the language. Reality of situation. What is the reality of situation right now for the Gators with 5 to play and now this 2-game lead?
Well, you look, last time Florida won a SEC title, like I said, was 2014. 6 different teams in the league have got at least a share of one since then. It is Florida's time, and here it is. It's right in front of them with 5 games to play. Go to Ole Miss, a team that's lost 8 in a row. You got to win. But like Todd will talk about, it's about how you start. It's about he'll say it. I guess he said it in your segment with him. It's kind of cliche, but it is one game at a time. You have to have the same mentality when you're going against Ole Miss. They didn't have a great game against South Carolina, but it was a fishing game, a workmanlike game, a lunch pail kind of game. They weren't going to beat them by 47. We all know that. But as long as they keep playing that defense, and I'm telling you, the defense in this, the best teams in the SEC right now after Florida are Alabama and Arkansas, Tennessee. Tennessee's the only one who's remotely close to them on the defensive end. Arkansas and Alabama are both, in the 30s or 40s when it comes to defensive efficiency.
Without a doubt. The Gators control their own destiny here. 3 road, 2 home left on the schedule. As Chris mentioned, it starts with a matinee on Saturday against Ole Miss and then a road trip to a surging Texas team. That'll be midweek in Austin. Chris, thank you very much. Enjoy this next stretch of these Gators.
Thanks, Sean.
I'm Sean Kelley. We'll see you next time right here on Gator Insider, presented by Talon Wealth.